Causes and risk factors of borderline personality disorder, BPD, genetic and biological causes. The causes of borderline personality disorder, BPD, are multifaceted and involve an interplay of genetic, biological, and environmental factors. While no single cause can account for the development of BPD, research suggests that both genetic predisposition and biological factors play significant roles in shaping the disorder. Understanding these aspects is essential in understanding the complexity of BPD and how it develops over time. In this episode of the Borderline Personality Disorder, BPD, podcast, we will dive into the genetic and biological causes of BPD, exploring the ways in which they influence the development of the disorder. Genetic factors and hereditability. Research indicates that genetic factors contribute to the development of borderline personality disorder. While BPD does not follow a simple inheritance pattern, studies suggest that individuals with a family history of personality disorders or other mental health conditions are at a higher risk of developing BPD. 1. Heritability of BPD. Studies, including twin studies and family studies, have suggested that genetic factors account for about 40 to 60% of the risk for developing BPD. This means that while genetics is a significant contributor, it is not the sole cause. The genetic contribution to BPD is likely to involve multiple genes, each having a small effect, rather than a single BPD gene. The heritability of BPD means that individuals with a first-degree relative, parent, sibling, diagnosed with BPD are more likely to develop the disorder themselves. However, it's important to note that genetics alone does not determine whether a person will develop BPD. Environmental factors, including childhood trauma, family dynamics, and early attachment experiences, also play a crucial role in the development of the disorder. 2. Genetic overlap with other mental health conditions. There is also evidence that BPD shares genetic risk factors with other mental health disorders, particularly mood disorders, for example, depression, bipolar disorder, and anxiety disorders. People with BPD often experience co-occurring mental health conditions, which suggests some overlap in the genetic vulnerabilities that contribute to these disorders. This genetic overlap helps explain why individuals with BPD may be more likely to experience mood swings, anxiety, and other psychological distress. While the exact genetic mechanisms are still being researched, findings suggest that genes related to emotional regulation, impulse control, and interpersonal functioning may be involved in BPD's development. Biological factors and brain structure. In addition to genetic influences, biological factors, particularly related to brain function and structure, have been shown to play a significant role in the development of BPD. Research using neuroimaging techniques, such as MRI scans, has provided valuable insights into how the brain functions differently in individuals with BPD. These biological factors affect how individuals with BPD process emotions, regulate impulses, and respond to stressors. 1. Emotional regulation and the brain. One of the central features of BPD is emotional dysregulation, or difficulty in managing intense emotions. Neurobiological research has shown that certain brain structures involved in emotion regulation may function differently in individuals with BPD. The amygdala, a brain region involved in processing emotions, particularly fear and anger, is often hyperactive in people with BPD. This heightened amygdala response is thought to contribute to the intense emotional reactions that individuals with BPD experience, such as feelings of panic, anger, or extreme sadness in response to perceived threats or abandonment. The overactivity in the amygdala can lead to an exaggerated response to emotional stimuli, making it difficult for individuals with BPD to regulate their emotions effectively. Prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex, which is involved in executive functions such as impulse control, decision-making, and regulating emotions, has been found to be underactive in individuals with BPD. This underactivity may contribute to impulsivity and difficulty controlling intense emotions. When the prefrontal cortex is not functioning optimally, it becomes harder for individuals to modulate their emotional responses, leading to difficulties in managing stress, anger, and impulsive behavior. Anterior cingulate cortex, ACC, The anterior cingulate cortex is another brain region involved in regulating emotions, empathy, and decision-making. Research suggests that dysfunction in the ACC may contribute to the emotional instability seen in BPD. The ACC helps process emotional and social information, so when it is not functioning properly, individuals with BPD may struggle with emotional conflicts and difficulties in social relationships. 2. Impulsivity and the brain. Impulsivity is a key characteristic of BPD, manifesting in behaviors such as substance abuse, reckless driving, binge eating, and unsafe sexual behaviors. Research has shown that regions of the brain responsible for impulse control and decision making, such as the prefrontal cortex, may be less active in people with BPD. This lack of regulation leads to heightened impulsivity and difficulty controlling urges, even when the individual understands the negative consequences of their actions. In addition to the underactivity in the prefrontal cortex, there is evidence that individuals with BPD may have altered functioning in the dopaminergic system, which regulates pleasure and reward. This could contribute to impulsive behaviors, as individuals with BPD may engage in risky activities to seek out immediate gratification or relief from emotional pain. 3. Stress response and cortisol regulation. Another biological factor in BPD is the regulation of the stress hormone cortisol. Research has suggested that individuals with BPD may have an altered stress response system, which could contribute to emotional dysregulation and impulsivity. Studies have shown that people with BPD tend to have higher baseline levels of cortisol, which is associated with chronic stress and increased emotional reactivity. Elevated cortisol levels can make it more difficult for individuals with BPD to recover from stressful events, leading to heightened emotional sensitivity and a decreased ability to manage distress. Over time, this chronic stress response can contribute to the development of symptoms such as anxiety, anger outbursts, and difficulty coping with interpersonal conflicts. The role of early life environment and trauma. While genetic and biological factors play a significant role in the development of BPD, early life experiences and trauma also contribute to the disorder. Many individuals with BPD have a history of childhood abuse, neglect, or unstable family environments, which can affect their brain development and emotional regulation. These traumatic experiences, particularly during critical periods of brain development, can increase the likelihood of developing BPD in those with a genetic predisposition. The biological vulnerabilities associated with BPD, combined with environmental stressors, can create a powerful risk factor for the disorder. The neurobiological factors discussed above, such as heightened amygdala activity and reduced prefrontal cortex functioning, may make individuals more vulnerable to the emotional and relational challenges that arise from a traumatic childhood environment. Conclusion. Borderline personality disorder is a multifactorial disorder, meaning it arises from a complex interaction of genetic, biological, and environmental factors. Research suggests that genetic predisposition contributes to the development of BPD, with studies indicating a significant hereditary component. At the same time, biological factors, including differences in brain function and stress regulation, play a crucial role in shaping the symptoms of BPD, such as emotional instability, impulsivity, and interpersonal difficulties. It is important to note that while genetics and biology contribute to the risk of developing BPD, early life experiences, including trauma and attachment issues, also significantly impact its development. The interplay between nature and nurture is a key factor in understanding the complexity of BPD. As research continues, a more detailed understanding of the genetic and biological underpinnings of BPD will help improve diagnostic accuracy and treatment options. In future episodes, we will explore the psychosocial factors that contribute to BPD, as well as how therapy and support can help individuals manage their symptoms and lead fulfilling lives. Stay tuned as we continue to explore the science and treatment of borderline personality disorder.